Alright, y'all. So this is Diesel We the People News. Now, this is going to be Here's the Deal video. However, it's talking about the Second Amendment issue. And because we don't really look at the words and how it's originally written, I decided, well, I'm going to kind of break it down. And that way there is no really misunderstanding of this, right? Especially with the Second Amendment, because the Supreme Court says this and the Supreme Court says that. However, you're trusting someone that's acting in bad faith. Okay? They know what's going on. They know what the Second Amendment says. Congress knows what the Second Amendment says. The problem is, you don't know what the Second Amendment says. And everybody keeps on forgetting key points on the Second Amendment. The key points, and nobody's really talking about it. Even on the videos I've seen, they talk about, we have a right to bear arms and this and this and this. I even did it. However, we don't break it down to really understand this. Okay? So, let's do this, y'all. Alright, the key component right there. See that right there? That right there. Oh, get that finger out of the way. That right there. That is a comma. Comma. Okay? Comma. Alright. Sorry, shaking it. Comma. Okay? We're going to have to realize that. So, 1 comma. 2 comma, 3 commas. What does that mean? In all actuality, there's 4 separations in the Second Amendment, y'all. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's run this together. Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia. That's 1. Comma. That's separate from being necessary for the free state. Why is there a comma there? To separate it, for people to really understand. By the way, while we're doing this, regulated does not mean the government is to regulate you. Alright? The militia is supposed to take care of the weapons, make sure everything is in good working order, everything is proper. That way when they're called upon, they can jump and go. That's what well-regulated militia means. Regulated is not for the government to come in and take over. Okay? I understand that. Alright? Number 2. Well, let's go back to number 1. Well-regulated militia. Comma. That's separate from number 2. Being necessary to the security of the free state, comma. Okay? They're defining it. That's number 2. It's defined why we need a well-regulated militia. Because it's necessary to protect your state. Now, this is what you go back down at the bottom. Intent. The Founding Fathers' intent. Okay? If the federal government decides to overpower your state, you have what you call a militia to help protect their homestead, which is their state. That is what it was necessary for. That's the reason why security of a free state. It's not necessarily for the federal government. It's to keep the federal government out of your state. Okay? And dare I say it, y'all, federal government is way too involved in our state now because of our states letting them. They do not have all these powers. And be factually accurate, we're not even supposed to have army bases in our state. Because we don't need them. We're supposed to have militias. And if our state needs backup, they call us. well, I say us, I'm not in the militia, but that's what it's for. Okay? Comma. Number 3. Again, separated. Number 3. Well, and I spelled that right. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. Okay? Now, I put on top of here so everybody knows. Again, the Founding Fathers' intent. Okay? So to clarify it, I go ahead and add to the top. We, the people. That was the intent. So, the right of we, the people, to keep and bear arms. Alright? Comma. It's separated from everything else. Okay? And it has all basically one meaning. That's the reason why there's not a period until the end. But there is a separation. It's like the 4th Amendment. There's 5 separations in the 4th Amendment. You got to have all 5 elements for the warrant to be accurate. Okay? That's the reason why comma is there. Go back to grade school, y'all. Alright? Find out what the comma means. Number 4. Shall not be infringed. Okay? So, this is what people are not defining, and this is what the Supreme Courts and Congress are not sharing with you, but we are trusting liars and misleading people on design on purpose. Our Supreme Courts know this because it's perfectly good English. Comma. It's separate. Alright, so when they say, well, the people don't have the right to bear arms, it says it right there. People to keep and bear arms. Okay? That's the 3rd line down. Technically it should be the 1st, but, you know, first defense is actually the militia. And the reason why we the people allowed to bear arms, that's because we're not to be overpowered by any of the government. Not your state, not federal. We're supposed to have the same or more than the federal and the state. Because they're not supposed to overpower us. In fact, what they are supposed to be is in fear of their jobs. And instead, we are in fear of them. Because the Supreme Court has lied. Congress has lied. And all your little neighbors and friends and all that, the ones that may be speaking the truth, you're thinking they're lying and you're trusting liars. Remember what your parents said. Do not trust liars. And the first thing you do is trust government. When it is legal for them to lie. Alright? So I, per se, define this out and clear this up a little bit. I'll bring it up a little bit further here. Alright? Let's see here. Alright. There you go. Okay? That is all one. But there's 4 different meanings in this one section. Okay? And that was the Founding Fathers' intent. If they just knew that we, the people, would not understand their intent by saying people, they probably would have gone ahead and put we, the people, on there. You know, they just didn't think we was going to be dumber about it. Alright? For some reason or another, our Founding Fathers thought we was going to get smarter. I don't know. Alright? But there you go, And does it say guns or anything like that? No, it says arm. But we're going to have to still go back into another thing. We got a right to life, liberty, and property. And we have the right to protect them by any means necessary. So, we can use any arms to be able to protect ourselves. Remember, y'all, we use what they call guns as arm. Okay? They were just, they was part of we the people at one time against the kings. Right? They weren't kings and queens. You know? They fought as everyday people. You know, they did have some different background. But, again, you know, there wasn't really nobody special. There wasn't kings and queens. Alright, so we're going to get back over here. And we're going to do this video. And, by the way, while you guys are at it, subscribe for here's the deal. Because he's really good at what he does. Alright? I'm just an average man. I'm not a genius about any of these things. I don't make the best videos. Most of this is from my memory. But since I'm doing it from my memory, I might as well, you know, do what I think. Or my opinions and all that. So, I showed you that on the Second Amendment. Okay? Now listen to this.
Unfortunately, just evil minds are going to rebel against some of this stuff. So if it's not a gun, it's going to be some other weapon or an illegal weapon. It's never going to be removed. So no matter what laws they want to change or what guns they want to remove, criminals are still going to be criminals. So there's got to be a better solution.
Like you said, the thing is, there's going to be single stabbings, shooting bombings, and stuff like that. For instance, I think a weapons great instance of that is there was no gun season on 9/11. It was all academic, and that's just maybe what it is. California, I have to get a permit that says I'm safe enough to have a firearm. I have to do a 10-day waiting period once I select the firearm that I want to buy. I have to do a background check on ammunition, and I have a 10-round magazine capacity. I have asked a couple of these individuals here at the protest that they would like to see that and more. What are your opinions on that?
It's the same answer. You can have all the rules and all the regulations. That's the thing about all the NRA members, for the most part, are going to be following those rules. So it's not that we break the rules. It's the criminals and the criminal mind that's the problem, not just the law-abiding gun owners. So I agree with the reform or the laws that are in place. I agree with the way to make sure they can do a background check. Nobody's against that that I know of that I'm friends with. It's just a matter of what other things can we do that's in agreement with the gun owners to protect the people.
Someone's not agreeing with each other, some way, like put up a wall between the two and not really talking about it. If we sat down together, like actually talk to them, I feel like there would be a lot more better laws, maybe better things that we came together as people, but oftentimes we don't do that. We just say, we want our guns, we want our laws, we want each other. That would be the whole thing.
Just, I know from what I've had, they don't want to really speak to a lot of individuals over there. They're just mostly yelling, being rude, throwing profanity. Luckily, they have had the opportunity. They've had or been willing to speak with me as a reporter. And somewhat with everyone at the NRA, some don't want to speak to me because I'm not credentialed yet.
But hopefully get there.
I'm small on YouTube. Give me a few more years and I might. But I won't take that.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I think I'm good there. I appreciate you guys having a conversation with me. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Hey, do you mind if I talk to you real quick? I'm 100% pro-gun, and I would disagree with one thing you said because the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. I see any kind of barrier between an individual and getting any kind of personal protection device they want as an infringement. What do you think about that? Because I hear common sense gun laws all the time. I don't care about common sense. I care about freedom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing where I think I'm no professional at this, and this is just one simple man's opinion, but that's where there might need to be some give and take. Because I don't want to give up my guns. I will not give up my guns. I had no intent to ever give up my guns. But if there's some way, somehow, to prevent this stuff happening again and again, and keep guns out of some people's hands that should be there, whether it's a mental issue, a background issue, whatever it is, that's where I wish we could find the answer to that.
Yeah, which probably won't happen because as you and I know that criminals and criminally minded people aren't going to obey laws. So you can stack all the laws. You know, these things are happening in gun-free zones. I like what Ted Nugent says. He calls it a gun-free criminal empowerment victim creation fish in a barrel zone. So,
but that's the crazy thing about it. Is this target at this school doesn't get any softer really, than except for an abortion. And there's no softer target than these little kids. So yeah, it's again, the gun laws aren't going to change that.
Are you still interested in a solar-powered generator?
Nope.
Because pay special attention, because I'm...
Unfortunately, the enforcement and protection that we have to put in place to prevent people so that there are guns and are restrictions to fight back on these people so they won't do that.
yeah, I'm a no restriction guy, man, because I'm like, when you fear the government, there's tyranny.
Well, okay,
The government fears you.
to that point though, and that's why I have a problem with some of these laws about the AR-15. Well, again, that's ignorance. They don't really know what they're saying. There's so many other things that are in there with the AR-15.
Yeah.
And when they restrict the AR-15, then what? My 9mm that has 33 rounds?
Yeah.
No. So I agree. It's not going to end.
Yeah.
So that's why there's got to be something on the other side of it, not the restrictions, but before it even gets in their hands. That's what the magic question that nobody has the answer to is probably next to impossible to find.
Yeah, and we obviously have a cultural problem because these people right here are just basically regurgitating what they heard on CNN and Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Because, like, to your point, I'm sorry, to your point, you know, you ask them what an AR-15 is, what does AR stand for? They don't know. Define for me what an assault rifle is. Some lady said, well, it's a rifle that you can assault people with. And it's like, can't you do that with a handgun? And she said, no. And it's like, well, you've never seen a fully automatic Glock with a 100-round drum then. You know, it's like... So I appreciate it. I just wanted to push back a little bit just to give you something to think about. I like what Samuel Adams said. It's not the majority who will prevail, but the irate and tireless minority who are keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. So just on the... And I like what Jefferson said, too. Or it was one of the guys. He said, when a law becomes unjust, it's our obligation to disobey that law. You know what I mean? So, and I think it's super unjust to put a background check on you. If you did something stupid at 17, they're never going to give you a gun in the state of New York, the state of California, and some of these other blue states. You know what I mean? And if you're a free man, you don't need to ask for permission. I don't want to. I don't have a higher claim over your life and property than you, and same thing with you for me. So, you know what I mean? I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It is a mental problem. We got a mental problem. There's fatherless homes. Yeah, there's a whole combination of things that are problems.
You look at Hollywood. You look at the video games. You look at the family unit. You look at the school system. All this stuff is so negative against these kids to try to they're in a battle to start with before they even get to age 18, where they could even possibly buy a gun. It's all that stuff that needs to be more addressed than who are we going to restrict the gun from. Because again, like my son is 18 years old. He is legally able to buy a gun. And I would not be concerned about him buying a gun because I know that lots of the morals and the values that I've instilled in him with right and wrong and what the gun is used for and it's not for that.
Yep. And safety above all things.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
Alec Baldwin can learn from you then too, because if anybody passes you a gun, it's up to you as the person who's holding that gun to make sure there's no round in the chamber.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey man, my name's Brian.
It's good meeting you.
I appreciate it. I'm with
Okay. So this is where we're at today, right? Because we waived our rights and kept on having to ask permission, now we got the next generation. I'm 50-something years old, and he's younger than I am. But he was brought up after the time, probably, I was still in the year that we used to be able to own machine guns, y'all. And then they made that illegal. Alright? For heaven's sake, the government cannot have you have machine guns because you would have the same firepower. Oh no, we got to stay above y'all. When the Constitution, the Second Amendment, is specifically designed for them not to be above us, because we are the governed. We are their boss. And somehow or another, our employees seem to think they actually literally have more rights to tell you what you can and cannot do. And the Supreme Court has been backing this up years. Now, they've been doing it years and years and years, but they've been stretching it where it's been slowly taken away. Y'all, just by my inalienable rights, I'm allowed to protect myself by any means necessary. I don't need the government's permission to protect myself by any means necessary. Alright? Now they kind of want to get you to have permission slips, you know. Well, there is always going to be an argument about how to make it more safe. Well, the only way we can make it more safe is criminals will not exist. That's the only way of doing it. And since criminals is always going to exist, then we always need to be prepared to be protecting ourselves. We have criminals, unfortunately, in our officer sections. We have criminals in Congress. We have criminals in the Senate. We have criminals in the courts. We have, everybody just automatically assumes the criminal is just a bad guy, in a bad neighborhood. Criminals has got their little hands everywhere. I'm not saying all officers are criminals. I'm just saying that there is criminals as officers. There is criminals in Congress. There is criminals in the elites, the ones that got millions and billions of dollars. There is criminals in there. And the government is saying I'm not allowed to protect myself and I must get permission from them. So I understand the argument, but it cannot and it will not be ever an argument that we win. Because we're never ever going to get rid of criminals. And we always must be able to protect ourselves by any means necessary. And I don't want to spend money to get a permission slip. And by the way, each and every time you ask for a permit, you're asking permission. It's a permission slip, y'all. You waived your rights. You no longer have a right. Once you get a permit, you waived your right. It's a permission slip. I stretch this out a little too far. Always keep the one thing in mind in general. Okay? One thing, period. Right? Shall not be infringed. Okay? The other one. The right of the people, and for some of y'all out there, we the people, to keep and bear arms. Just saying, y'all. Till next time, this will be the People News. Bye, y'all.